Welcome into the episode of Patrick Jones Baseball. In this week's episode, we have Greg Mamula on the podcast. Greg is the head baseball coach at the University of Delaware. He's someone who has a ton of experience coaching in college and just coaching in general. He's been coaching college baseball for over 25 years now. And what I think is really great about Greg is he has a ton of experience in coaching college baseball. It hasn't always been Division I college baseball. So he brings a different perspective to this episode and to coaching in general because he has coached so many different players, so many different skill sets. He has several players he's coached who are everyday players in the major leagues right now. And I think what I also like about Greg, too, and this is a little bit biased because I have a hitting background, is he actually is the hitting coach at the University of Delaware. So he's the head coach, but also serves as the hitting coach, which makes sense because he knows a ton about hitting. He has a hitting background. And so he talks a little about that in this episode of like what he's looking for from a hitting standpoint when he's out evaluating and looking at potential recruits. The same thing when we get into pitching as well. So it's a great episode. Greg's a really good guy. I love what they're doing at the University of Delaware. The program continues to get better and better each year since he became the head coach. And I think you're going to enjoy this episode too. So if you do, please make sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review. And here we go. My episode with Greg Mamula. Awesome, Greg. We are now live on the podcast. I appreciate you coming on today. So you're the head coach, University of Delaware. When I think of, obviously, you think of like college baseball, you think of programs all over the country. As now, having done this podcast now for almost 8 years, you meet some really good coaches and programs and things like that. But Delaware is one place I've never been. And so, like, I'm sure there's other people listening, maybe they haven't been there as well. But the people that I've talked to who have been there, whether that be like go to camps of yours or just checked out the campus, like absolutely love the place. Like, what's some of the things that you like the most about Delaware in general, but also the University of Delaware, just the campus and the environment around it?
All right, jumping right into the recruiting spiel, Patrick. I like it.
Yeah.
I have to, before I get going with that, I have to start by telling you this. Anytime I talk to a recruit from out of the area, I always ask them a geography question. I always ask them what 3 states border Delaware. And typically I start getting like Rhode Island, Massachusetts. And the reason I ask that question is because I want them to know we're not in New England. Like our weather is not good, but it's way better than New England weather. So University of Delaware, we sit, Patrick, right in between Philadelphia and Baltimore. Philadelphia is about 45 miles to the north, Baltimore a little less than an hour to the south of our campus. But to your point, we have a beautiful campus. We say we're the 5th oldest campus in the country. I don't know how that was ever tracked, but I'm going to roll with that. Just a beautiful brick sidewalk, brick colonial style buildings. The main street of Newark, Delaware runs right through the middle of our campus, which makes it a very social campus. It has a reputation of being a party school and 20 some thousand students all living on or just around campus makes it a very active social campus for the good and for the bad. So, beautiful campus, great old school college town as a lot of people imagine college. And then our athletic facilities would really surprise a lot of people how invested our athletic department is, our university is into our athletics.
Love that. Yeah, I think that it's something that when I think about geography, like you're talking earlier, I had to look up specifically too, like where exactly Delaware was, but it's in actually a really sweet location. Are you an Orioles fan?
If you look over my shoulder, I'm a Pirate fan. I actually grew up in Western Pennsylvania, but it's not been easy being a Pirate fan. I've kind of gravitated, Patrick. I love to watch Major League Baseball at night, and I've gravitated towards watching. I have 3 former players that I've coached that are everyday big leaguers now. So I'll find one of their games and watch them at night as opposed to watching the Pirates. Unless Paul Skeens is pitching, then I'll watch the Buccos.
When you're watching, but we'll stick Major League. When you're watching Major League games, like are you watching just because you love baseball? Are you watching from like a scouting lens, like from a development lens? Like what type of lens are you watching when you're watching MLB games?
All of the above, right? Love the sport, and that's the highest level. And I just cannot get past how impressive the pitching is this day and age. I know we all want to bash hitters and the offensive approach and all that stuff in Major League Baseball, but these pitchers, this day and age are just unbelievable. And in turn, anytime you see a major league hitter square a baseball up, it's just so impressive to me. So I guess that's the fascinating part to me. And I think as coaches, leaders, we're always attracted to greatness. So you're always like watching the greats and how they do it and the consistency that they do it.
Do you like when you're talking with your own hitters at the University of Delaware, like do you give them different player comps for them to watch or anything like that of major league guys that you see?
Certainly. I'm the type like, I'll see something on social media and just post it in our hitters group chat, especially if it's something applicable to what we have recently worked on.
Like what are some things that you find yourself working on consistently with your hitters? Like maybe a better question would be like what from an offensive standpoint, what are some of the things that is like your philosophy?
Sure. Well, I do, as the head coach, I still do the hitting. I haven't been able to let go of that. Just feel like, that's something that I feel like I've had success with and enjoy doing. So continue to do it now as a head coach, but it's always going to start with swing decision, right? And if you'd ask guys, they call me ma'ams. If you'd ask guys, what's Mam's offensive approach? They jokingly would say walks and home runs. And that's obviously a very dumbed down version of it, but there's a lot of truth to that. So it's always about swing decision, having a high on base, and then also having a high slug percentage, which we talk about as intent or aggression with our swing. So that's kind of our primary focus in recruiting and development.
So how do you go about developing swing decisions?
Yeah. So my hitters, if they're watch this podcast, Patrick, are going to roll their eyes because they hate this, but they know it's good for them, right? Is anytime we hit on the field, if you take a good pitch to hit, you're automatically kicked out of the turtle. Or if you swing at a pitch out of the zone, you're automatically kicked out of the turtle. And, I've found that's by far and away the best way for the guys to learn the zone, especially like when there's scouts there, like pregame BP, like you're losing swings in front of scouts, like you're going to be really good with the zone. But we always want it to be at the forefront of every round we do on the field is swing decision is always going to matter. But that's, a lot of different ways, but that's the most important one, I think.
And are you the one behind the turtle, like judging whether or not it was a strike or not?
Sometimes you hope that the players kick themselves out, that they will just admit it. Early in the school year, typically in the fall, the BP pitcher, the feeder is the one that does it. And we're going to start out being really tight and splitting hairs on it and be really good, with it just to get them in that mode. Like you start getting lax with it, they're never going to kick themselves out. Like they need to know that that was out of the zone and they shouldn't have swung, or that was a good pitch to hit and they should have swung.
Have you guys ever experienced with the med ball behind home plate as instant feedback?
We have a 9 pocket that we set back there, and we set it at a distance where the guys kind of know with the ropes what's a strike and what's not if they track the baseball back. So if there's any question, you can just be like, nah, bro, that's right in the middle pocket of the 9 pocket. Like that's a strike 100 out of 100 times,
And do you usually is it a coach who throws, or is it like machine, or is it a combination? Like how do you guys go about the actual like environment?
Yeah, love to hit on the field. We hit on the field every day, just about, unless the weather doesn't allow. But it's usually going to be an every other. One day coach, next day machine, and we're usually going to go with that. Once we get in the spring, like if it's pregame and we hit off the machine pregame at home and we scored 12 runs that day, you bet that we're pulling the machine back out for pregame the next day. So we'll break, the every other rhythm.
What are some of the things that you feel like college hitters, because you've coached college baseball now for over 20 years. So when you're working with college hitters, like what are some of the things that if a high school player were to listen to this episode, like they should be starting to work on now, just based upon your experience having worked with college hitters now for over 20 years? Like what can they
Cool.
do now to be able to, like, once they get to college, like they already ahead step on everybody else?
I could go on and on about this. The number one, and this is so much easier said than done, but I know you're out and about watching recruiting events and tournaments, is there's never, in my opinion, benefit to leaving the zone as a hitter. It goes back to our swing decision. And I say easier said than done because you go watch these tournaments in the summer and it's 95 degrees and the umpire's doing 4 games on turf and he's calling pitches 10 inches off the plate of strike, just trying to get it over with. So I know it's tough as the high school travel ball hitter when that's a strike. But to me, it's always about being great with the zone and never leaving the zone. And you're going to lose out on at bats. You're going to get called out on strikes, but you always have to be training the zone as a high school hitter, as a hitter at any level, in my opinion. Except I think you can go back to the early stages of baseball when kids first start playing. Like, I can see benefit in telling kids to swing at absolutely everything to try to figure out how to get the barrel there. And then as you start to get older, more little league age, start to reel in the strike zone. That's one. The other huge one, and this is, I think, a constant battle for all college hitters, Patrick, is the guys coming in now year by year take more and more and more swings. They hit longer throughout the year, even in, this part of the country or where you are in Cincinnati. Like, guys are inside hitting year round. And what I see is the guys come in and 80-90% of their swings are off a tee or front toss. And it's been really hard for me to find a system that effectively breaks that, where guys throw overhand to each other. Guys take more swings off of overhand and machine than they do flip and tee. Like, I think tee and flip have their place, but that should not be, in my opinion, the majority of swings, because it's not practical to what actually happens in a college baseball game or high school baseball game for that matter. So I can go on, but those are some of the big ones for me.
Okay, let's talk about the tee and the flip. So maybe we'll just talk about your program. Like, what do you guys do?
We're going to overhaul it. And I'm going to tell you why. Like, I've always have preached what I just talked about, but I've also always preached I want the guys to have their own individual routine in the cage before practice starts. They're all in the cage 45 minutes, an hour before going through their routine. And as I watched our guys last year, it morphed for many of them into what I talked about: way too much tee, way too much flips. And we know why, right? It's easy to flip underhand. It's easy to hit underhand. It's hard, especially if you've never done it or haven't done it much, to throw overhand BP, and you don't have as much success hitting, right? So we know why guys do it. But here's my example. Last year, I want to say it was our last or next to last home game. We're playing Campbell University conference game. Their starters like 93, 95. And we have a lightning delay, rain delay. And we had hit off the machine, and the machine was set up mid 90s, and we're having success launching baseballs. We're ready to go. Guys should be on time if we have done it right. And we have a lightning or rain delay, and our hitters run down to the cage, and I go watch, and they're all doing front toss. And I'm like, this is not it. Like, I've got to do a better job as a hitting coach. Like, as you know, like, front toss is probably the equivalent of hitting a 60-mile-an-hour fastball. Now you're going to go from that to 95. Like, good luck. Those are two completely different swings and timing, and two different timings. But so to answer your question, like, I've been battling myself all summer to find a way to try to decrease the number of front toss and get them to throw to each other overhand and hit off the machine in the cage more. And I have some ideas. I'm not exactly settled exactly how we're going to do it, but it's just more about getting them to buying into the benefit of hitting overhand and machine versus underhand.
Yeah, I mean, do they have pushback as when you bring that up?
I think they know, but I think human nature, we always gravitate towards easy, right? We like what's easiest, and that's what's easiest as a hitter, as a feeder, is to do the underhand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and even when you talk about the going back to what you said earlier about the swing decisions, a lot of times what I will look for is like how a hitter takes a pitch. I think, to me anyway, that's really important. I think that will tell you a lot. Is that something that you look for too when evaluating from a swing decision standpoint?
Absolutely is, especially the timing of the take when you're evaluating for recruiting. Is this a guy that can make late decisions? Did it look like he saw what the pitch was, as opposed to the guy that gives up on pitches early? So the timing of the take, and obviously, what they look like when they take the pitch.
How many at bats on average would you say you watch from a high school player before you're like, I'm in?
Let's talk ideal first, and then we'll probably go, and then I'll go to what usually happens. I'm really big on watching a kid take BP. That becomes hard a lot of times. So I'm the type that if they're hitting in the cage before, like, I want to get down and try to watch it. And I'm not standing right there, like, right on top of them, but from a distance. I like to see BP, see what the swing looks like, see how the ball comes off the bat in BP. Because many times in recruiting, you never get to see a kid actually square a ball up perfectly, just to see the max max juice he has at that point. So I'd like to see a BP. Number of at bats, I would love to see at least 10. Hopefully we're getting closer to 15, 20. And you want to see those in a real baseball game where the scoreboard's on. There's an umpire, the teams are trying to win. It's difficult in this travel baseball world where so many of these tournaments now that I go watch, and I was at one yesterday, that pitchers just face 5 hitters. Like their scoreboard's not on. Nobody's trying to win. Like it's a different game that way. Like some guys have success in that model and don't in a model when the scoreboard's on, or a game when the scoreboard's on. So like to watch them in a competitive setting where they're trying to win. Obviously, the best time is high school playoffs, right? Like that is single elimination. This is our best lineup. These are the best pitchers. Everybody's trying to win. Every pitch matters. That most closely replicates a college baseball game to me. So that's ideal. But long-winded answer to say, hopefully we can get at least very minimum 10 at bats on the guy.
And so you said like that's the ideal, but like is that usually what you get too is 10 at bats?
I would, yes. Yeah, I'd say it's very rare we're going to watch a hitter 1 or 2 games and make a decision on him. It's probably going to be over 2, 3 tournaments, so it's probably going to be closer to 7, 8, 9 games. But again, we know in the travel world, many times because of run rule and time limits, you only get to see 2 or 3 plate appearances, and they probably walked one of them,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
true.
you might see 7 games, but only see 12 at bats.
Do you find yourself like kind of leaning towards players who look a certain way from like a physical standpoint?
I mean, everybody's looking for big and strong, but I've been doing this long enough to know that good hitters come in all different shapes and sizes, right? It's more about the stuff that matters. How does the ball come off their bat, their swing decisions, all the stuff that's actually going to lead to us scoring runs.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting to sometimes I'll notice certain college coaches like, man, they absolutely love certain types of players, and I don't know if it's like something just subconscious, like they didn't even realize it, or just from a physical standpoint. But I always find it interesting. Going back to the showcase things like that, like what would you do, Greg? Like let's say like in an ideal world, what would you do to make things better? Like what would you want to see from an evaluation standpoint from college coaches if you go to some of these tournaments or even showcases? Like what would make it better for you to make it you mentioned earlier the high school playoffs, like how would you set up the summer circuit to make it a better from an evaluation standpoint for you?
Back to what I just said earlier is, can we find a way where the scoreboard is on? I mean, literally, right? How many of these tournaments you go to and the scoreboard is off? Can the scoreboard be on? And can we not roll innings and not do 5 hitters an inning and have a winner and have a loser? And I know like everybody runs out of pitching by Sunday, so people don't want to do a playoff, but can we at least have, I don't know, some variation of a very short playoff game between the 2 best teams and have a winner? So we're actually playing to win the baseball games would be, I guess, ideal. I grew up Western Pennsylvania playing American Legion, and I'm so grateful that I got to do that because every single game we played in high school and in the summer, we were trying to win. Our small town's trying to beat your small town. There was pride in that. Every game mattered. And we've gotten so far away from that model. But I think that's ideal from a player standpoint. Like players want to play games, competitors want to play games where there's a winner and there's a loser. And from a recruiting standpoint, that's the ideal setting to watch a player in.
Yeah, it's almost like the term, what I think the term is like what fall ball warriors is like you go to college and for the fall, like you tear it up and play well. And then that same player who tears it up in the fall, like once the spring hits, they're completely different. Like there's just a different type of stress and anxiety that you want to be able to and you obviously you try to replicate that as best you can, obviously in the fall and some of these showcases and things like that. But man, like you said, when the scoreboard's on, when there's people watching, when all those things matter, like that's how you honestly develop, I think, more times than not, more than anything else.
I agree. And to your point, I feel like the competitors play better when there's something on the line, right? And the term a showcase kid, like some kids can perform whenever the score doesn't matter and nobody really cares who wins. They can perform in that setting, but not in the real setting when the lights turn on or the scoreboard turns on.
What about from a pitching standpoint? Like I know you said you're in charge of the hitters, but obviously as the head coach, like at the end of the day, like it's your call on and when it comes to the lineup and pitching and things like that too. Like what are some of the things that maybe people are out there and they're thinking that coaches want to see, but it's actually they don't really care as much, or what's overrated or underrated, maybe from like a pitching standpoint?
Yeah. And I'm going to start my answer with, it was so obvious to me this year in the College World Series and the regionals that you have to throw the ball in the strike zone now in college baseball, right? Like just about everybody has TrackMan, and just about, if not every game now, is on ESPN Plus. And there's umpires who are getting reports after the game. They're being evaluated off of their success percentage in calling balls and strikes. You have to get hitters out in the strike zone. It didn't used to be like that in college baseball, right? Before TrackMan, before Watch ESPN, like the strike zone was perfect game wide in college baseball, right? Like the umpires were calling 6-8 inches off the plate prior to that. So before, like being able to locate off the plate, those guys could win in college baseball, maybe even if their stuff wasn't very good. Now you have to have real stuff and you have to be able to throw it in the zone. So from a recruiting and development standpoint, like that's what everybody is chasing, is who can consistently throw the ball in the zone and who's got the stuff to miss barrels, ideally swing and miss. But if not, get off the barrel one way or another with your stuff. So I mean, I think you're going to get that answer from every college coach this day and age, right? Like that's what we're all chasing.
Can you develop command?
Of course, of course. It's, I think the old pro ball model of when they would draft the guy that threw hard and maybe had elite stuff, but couldn't throw it in the zone. And you just stuck that guy at the complex and just gave him outing after outing after outing. And some guys learned to throw strikes or started throwing enough strikes and other guys didn't and they got released. I think just with more repetition, more outings under their belt, some guys start to figure out how to throw in the zone more. Obviously, you can expedite that through drill work, in the outfield and flat grounds and bullpens and on and on and on, but just getting as many touches as you can. And there's obviously a number of factors that are going to determine who gets better with their command and who doesn't. But yeah, I think it certainly can be improved.
What are some of the things that you've been up to this summer specifically? Are there certain things that you're like, man, I really want to improve upon this from a coaching standpoint this upcoming year, whether it be like leadership or whether it be culture, which I know is a buzzword, but it is still a thing, development from a hitting coach standpoint, game planning? Like, is there anything that like you specifically have been working on for yourself as a coach for this upcoming year?
Yeah, that's all I do, Patrick. I have no life. Ask my players, ask my kids. All I do is I think, and it's the beauty of being a coach, and it's the travesty, I guess, of being a coach, is like all you're thinking about is like, what's next? What's next? How can we get better? And I feel like all I do all the time is always trying to grow. My car rides when I'm recruiting to and from work or listening to podcasts. Patrick Jones baseball podcast is on my or on my playlist. I just listened to the one you did with the catching guy yesterday on my recruiting trip. I don't know if he's a catching guy, but he was talking about framing and stealing strikes.
Oh yeah, the professor at Princeton.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't recall his name, but grab some stuff from that, learn some stuff from that. So gravitate obviously towards baseball, hitting podcasts, leadership podcasts. And we don't have captains at Delaware. We do leadership training. So I try to learn and grow as much in that area as I can, in turn, hopefully help our players in that area. I'm really big on that part within our program. But no, there's a lot of different stuff every single year, always trying to add, always trying to improve. And some of it helps and some of it hurts and some of it doesn't make an impact at all. But that's part of being a coach and being in the growth mindset.
What are some of the things that that have worked?
As far as,
well, as you said, like some of the stuff, like you sounds like some of the stuff that you've learned, whether it be from a leadership standpoint or like other things that you've learned over the years that you've tried, and some of it, you said some of it's worked and some of it hasn't worked. Like, what are some of the things that maybe like you've implemented based upon something you've learned that has worked over the last couple of years?
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot. I'm going to go to last year. We started to lift 7 days a week, and not each guy lifted 3 days, but different guys were in different days of the week with our weight training, and the pitchers absolutely loved it because they could be in an exact routine. And we pitch out of what we call pod pitching, but the pitchers love it because they get in a routine where they can lift. They know exactly what day they're going to throw. So they can lift really heavy certain days, long toss heavy, bullpen heavy certain days. And I felt like, we lowered our team ERA by like a run last year, and I'm really excited about the arms we're bringing back. But I felt like that was one thing last year that we completely changed. Instead of saying like hitters lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pitchers, you're going to lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday too. We completely moved that. And we have some pitchers lift Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, like I said, 7 days a week, the weight room's open, our strength coach is in there with them.
So you changed it so it was specifically based on when the pitchers were going to throw?
For the pitchers lifts, correct. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
each pitcher, depending on what day they threw, had their different lift days.
Where did someone recommend that, or is that something you just thought of
It
yourself?
was our new pitching coach who came in last year, Dan Sweeney. They had been doing it at William and Mary, who was in our conference that we just left, the CAA, and they had either led or been second in the conference like every year he was there in most pitching categories. And we were fortunate to get Dan here. And, one of the many reasons I hired him is because of, the pod pitching that they do and the routine that their pitchers got in. And I saw the development, how their guys developed and how they stayed fresh throughout the season. So it was all him.
Speaking of hiring coaches, I know right there you gave a perfect example of, obviously you see somebody who's done a really good job from a pitching standpoint, developing pitchers, things like that. I feel like a hitting coach is a little bit different. There's so many different variables, but in general, as a head coach, I think this would be cool for younger coaches who are maybe looking to get into coaching, or maybe who are coaching and want to eventually, become a head coach one day, like someone like yourself. Like, what are some of the things that you're looking for when putting together a staff?
Yeah. Somebody told me this will be my 26th year coaching college, but somebody told me this early on and it stuck with me. And there's a lot of truth to it, Patrick, is every day is your interview in this profession. So this time of the year, it's recruiting. And I find myself when I'm out recruiting, trying to talk and connect to any of the assistant coaches I don't know. That's their job interview. They don't know it. But like, that's how it goes, right? Like you're forming
Yeah.
an opinion and evaluation on that conversation with them. And then obviously during the spring, if you're coaching against somebody, I'm constantly, again, trying to grow and learn. You're watching the things that they do during BP before the game with their players, with their hitters, and then, what's happening during the game. And that becomes kind of their job interview, so to speak, on game day. So I think like that's, we all have a running list as head coaches. Some people probably write it down. I just keep it in my head of, all right, if this guy leaves, here's some guys I think do a pretty good job that I'd want to learn more about.
I like that. Have you ever thought about, I'm sure you have thought about it, but the pro game, has that ever intrigued you at all? I know we had talked before we started recording, and you had coached, was it John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays? Has the pro game ever intrigued you at all?
I've had a couple opportunities and I've kicked it around, and I cannot get off of college baseball, Patrick. It's a drug for me. I just absolutely love the part of how good can we get, how far can we go, of college baseball. And I absolutely love coaching the 18 to now 25-year-olds in college. But I love being on the field with these guys. I love hopefully making a positive impact on their lives, their future lives. And we know like the decisions you make in high school and college, like impact everything for the rest of your life. And again, I like being a part of that in, our players' lives. So I love college. It's a drug for me. I would never cross out the pro game, but I love where I'm at and what I do.
One of the things that I sometimes am curious about, because I've never coached in college, and so I always wonder from, you always hear about RPI and some of these things, and like you look at records and how big of an impact does that make? How do you think about the schedule throughout the season, like up until conference play? Are you just trying to plug and play? Like you have like maybe your set 5 or 6 guys who you know for sure are going to be starting each day, and then you give other guys an opportunity in those other few roles. Like how do you think about the lineup on in non-conference games?
I tell every recruit and I tell our players, we're going to try to win every single baseball game. We're going to put the best lineup out there every single day and try to win every game. And again, it's one of the things I love about college. The exception to that is you're obviously not going to blow out guys' arms, and
Yeah.
not wear out your catchers early in the year. Like the goal is to be a really good team in May, not in February. But the lineup we write, like we're never just going to throw a guy in there to give him an opportunity. Like that's the fall, that's the preseason. The spring is for trying to win.
Okay. What advice do you have for the 2027 recruiting class? Like one of the things that I've noticed anyway, and just in talking with different coaches and things like that is the common thing I hear is like we're being very patient when it comes to recruiting 27s, like, and you don't really see a whole lot of 27s committing right now. So that's kind of piggybacking on what they've said. Like, what would be from your standpoint at University of Delaware? Like, what's kind of your thought process?
I agree with that, right? There's so much uncertainty in college athletics. The goals the goalposts keep changing, keep moving, right? Like it feels like every month something new is changing with roster, scholarship, all that stuff. I think we're all a little bit, um, what's the word I want to use? We're going to be safe, I guess, play things safe with recruiting. We don't believe, and I don't believe in over recruiting anyhow. So we're never going to, commit a kid that we don't have room or have a scholarship for. But small classes, my advice to the 27 is, and this is just recruiting advice in general, is I think human nature is we're always trying to find something maybe at a higher level than what we actually are in life. We all want a bigger house than maybe we can afford, a better car than we can afford. And in recruiting, I think so many families and kids are chasing programs that maybe are better than what they can afford, so to speak. And I'm not talking financially, but from a ability to play standpoint. Your goal as a recruit should be to find the program that's going to give you the best experience to prepare you for the best, for it to live a great life. What that looks like is different for every kid, but it's about finding a place where you can go and be an everyday player by your sophomore year. Hopefully freshman year, but definitely sophomore year should be the goal. Every situation is in life is going to be good or bad based off of the people. I think kids get wrapped up in programs, divisions, conferences, gear, facilities. At the end of the day, you and I, Patrick, know like the experience is always good or bad with the people. You get with the right group of teammates, coaches, and you're playing, having success, winning. It's a great experience, regardless what the field looks like or what the uniform looks like. I just think so many people are trying to chase a level above where they can actually play. And if they're successful in getting there, which they aren't as much now as probably things used to be with a bigger roster, it doesn't work anyhow at the transfer portal, right? Like you get in a program that's above your ability level, you're going to get shipped out after a year anyhow. So that doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah, yeah, you're 100% spot on. I try to always think about advising people the best way, and I've kind of said the same. I actually had a parent tell me this one time, which I thought was, crazy because usually you don't hear this from parents, but she was like, we chase people, we don't chase logos. And I was like, man, that's pretty good stuff. And I think that you're 100% spot on, Greg. And especially, I mean, you've coached guys who are in the major leagues right now, everyday major league guys. You know how to develop somebody and you know what to look for and things like that too. And so obviously from your standpoint, it's like, look, like I know what it takes to develop and work with, if you want to play in the big leagues, like I've got guys who are in the big leagues every day right now. I think it's more of I think you're spot on too when it says human nature thing. It's kind of like an envious thing where it's like, man, if somebody else gets it and I don't, like I must have missed out on something, even though that's not really the case at all. So I don't really necessarily know what other advice to give outside on that. Is that something though when you're recruiting, if a kid's like, oh, I'm gonna hold out in case for power four, are you usually off on that player because of that?
No, I'm not going to say off, but you're always in recruiting, you're always looking for the best player, person, all that stuff that you can get, right? So you're going to probably start going harder after the next guy on your list as opposed to waiting, for that guy.
How many players at a time are on your list?
I'm just going to go with the 27 class, right? Because we're now a week into being able to recruit them. I think we had 40 some guys on our initial call list for August 1st that we reached out to, on August 1st in hopes that, we'll probably end up with a recruiting class of 6 to 8 guys in the 27 class. And again, like you said, and many coaches are saying, no hurry. We want to get the right 6 to 8 guys, not the first 6 to 8 guys that'll say yes to us. At the end of the day, it's about finding guys that are going to help us win baseball games.
You mentioned earlier that there's been a lot of uncertainties and kind of coaches are kind of being skeptical with all the changes going on. Do you feel like now, like it's at a point now where you kind of know what the changes are and can kind of make plans going forward? Or do you still feel like there's going to continue to be different changes uh, going on throughout the next year or so?
No, nothing is as certain right now, right? College athletics, let's just be real, is very unstable right now. And I feel like universities, athletic departments are playing things really conservative this year because this is the first year we're paying athletes, right? With
Right.
the revenue share. And nobody really knows what this is going to look like. I think everybody wants to get through one full fiscal year of paying the athletes before they start to make more decisions on maybe where to reallocate money. And then you couple that with many universities are struggling with enrollment, in turn, struggling financially overall as universities. It costs a lot more to provide health care for employees at universities and everywhere now. So you see across the country, not just in athletics, but in higher education, a lot of professors and staff getting laid off. So very uncertain times in college and college athletics. So no, I feel like there's going to be a lot more changes coming. We don't know what those are, but there's a lot of uncertainty.
Well, I guess maybe you don't know. I was just curious, like, do you have any personal predictions of what college baseball may look like in a year or so?
Oh, I want to keep thinking, and shouldn't say I want to. I keep thinking, Patrick, that the transfer portal, NIL, revenue share, that the rich are getting richer, and it's becoming harder for the mid-major and smaller Division Ones to compete. But that didn't hold true this year, right? I mean, shoot, look at Murray State in the College World Series, Coastal Carolina coming from a non-Power Four conference, although obviously they're a Power Four program with facilities and um, budget and all that stuff. But I feel like it's supposed to be going that way, but it hasn't. That's one thing I think we're paying attention to. I'm also curious, with the new roster limits that are happening, like I feel like that is going to impact recruiting as well, where maybe those schools aren't committing as many players, don't have as many players on their campus. So maybe that's going to allow the mid-major, the smaller Division Ones to attract better talent.
Got it. Well, before we sign off on here, Greg, I do want to applaud you on something. You hear nowadays, and this is something I've actually said before too, where it's never been easier to stand out. It seems like as a player, and in one sense, because I'll go and watch games, and like I've never seen more players than this summer just walk on and off the field like in between innings, and I'm like, geez, I was never a Charlie Hustle player, but I at least jogged out there. And so you're just doing the fundamentals. I think is sometimes it's just you just do the fundamentals, and it's man, you stick out, or you have a lot of energy, and it's like man, that kid wants to be out there. Just sticks out like a sore thumb. And I sometimes I think about that too from a college coach's standpoint too. It's like the coaches anyway that I've talked to who do the fundamentals. And again, maybe it's my bias, whatever, but it's like every time that I've always reached out or emailed you, it's like, man, you email back and you do it so fast. And it's just like that's so fundamental, but like it leaves such an impact anyway. And so I just wanted to applaud you on that, honestly. And I know it sounds like, man, it doesn't take any talent or anything. Like, no, but it by doing that, like you stick out from so many other people. And so I think in general, I think it's awesome. I mean, I appreciate you doing that.
Well, thank you, Patrick. It's one of our rules in our office is we're going to respond to every single recruit or anybody that reaches out to us. It's the way when my son, who's going to be a freshman in college, when he reached out to other colleges, I would hope that they would respond is the way we're always going to respond, as long as they put our name in the email, right? If it says coach, they're probably not going to respond. But if they put our name or our university in there, we're going to respond to anybody that reaches out to us.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on today, Greg. If someone wants to learn more about your program, should they go to a certain Twitter handle or website or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to get followers at Coach Mams UD, Coach Mams UD. Pretty active on Twitter, I guess X as we call it now. Not quite on the Instagram, TikTok, any of that stuff yet. I'm still stuck in in Twitter mode, and we do a pretty good job keeping our website, our university does as well, and our social media from our athletic department and our baseball social media is pretty active as well, trying to keep that updated.
But we'll make sure to tag your social media handle when this website or episode comes out. But appreciate you coming on again today.
No, thanks for the opportunity, Patrick. Keep up the good work. Keep the podcast coming. Guys like me need to keep learning and growing and have something to listen to when I'm on my way to and from work and I'm recruiting. So keep up the good work and keep the good guests going.
Will do. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
See ya.